Welcome to The Krystal Effect. I'm your host, Krystal Appleby, and I'm here to share honest, wild truths I've learned through being a practitioner for myself and others on this crazy journey of life, career, and relating. I'm not crazier, braver, bolder, or more experienced than others. Rather, I do believe I'm here to share with a deeper level of honesty than most. It's just who I am. Superficiality and mediocrity are pure boredom here, and I do believe the deepest truths and depths of our soul will set us and others free. With an allergy to anything withheld in connection and conversation, we're going to dive right into any limits or lies we tell ourselves, pierced through the mediocrity or fears of diving deep into the truth. I hope to give you an opportunity to reactivate your knowing and zeal for living, rather than to be triggered, squander life and joy, and shrink away out of my energy field. But as always, choice is yours. Let's dive in. Welcome to episode 3 of The Krystal Effect, On the Other Side of Anger. This title came to me on the beach as I was trying to mull and think about how to enter 2024 with a podcast episode. Feeling like so much has shifted. I have so much to share. Last year, I recorded probably 6 or 7 episodes that I never released because they weren't landing. I would speak and I would get lost in the words. And something that I really deeply learned in 2023, I would send voice notes to people or have conversations or initiate conversations through voice messages where I would just get lost and the message would just get diffused and fall apart, and I would try to re-record and I wouldn't get anywhere. But what I really truly learned through this, as I did it more and more, I started to see the incongruency in the conversations I was having with the people I was having. And it was really just directing me to shine a light where there was no more to be said on a topic. So this happened in relationships where I felt the need to keep having the last word. Last year really was this deep year for me to dive into these layers of myself that I had never been ready for. And so through that, I uncovered a lot of beautiful musings, a lot of awareness, a lot of new theories and ideas on life and living. And in the last quarter of 2023, I could feel it all starting to bubble up in me and wanting to come out and go somewhere. So I would try to just like record podcasts while I was driving, while I was doing all these things. And then I was starting to receive this awareness in my body that I had been here before, that I knew this feeling, that I knew what was happening, why I couldn't have a clear message. Because when I sat down to record or write other pieces of content, they came through loud and clear. And they were pieces that I was truly, genuinely proud about. Even today, I released my first newsletter for the Krystal Effect, and it just pierced through. And I read it probably 5 times after and realized that this creation really is for me. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of myself and how I've been able to articulate and put what I've been living into words. And that's it. That's all of it. In my newsletter, I talk about, the creation process is really for us. And not in a selfish way that we aren't here to be of service. But if we follow our creation and our creative process, we go out and digest life. We bite a piece of life off, we take it in, we observe it, and we take all that it has to offer. And then we take that information that life is giving us and we go home and we build a creation, however you want that to come to life, whether it's in writing, whether it's art, drawing, singing, dancing, you name it. However you want that to transpire and take form is giving your soul an outlet. So when that is not coming through loud and clear, when there's no potency behind your message, behind your art, when you don't feel your own soul going into your creations and your work, that now is, for me, a sign to step back. So the last few months, that's exactly what I did. And I'm so grateful for the awareness and taking that time to do that, because on the other side of that long pause, on the other side of sitting in some muddy waters, and the other side of feeling a bit lost or like my message was being watered down, came clarity, came certainty, and came direction, and this clean vector. So that's where I stand now, in this space of hoping that now this creation gets to be simple, because the podcast has not been simple for me to express my words in a way where they feel like they're coming through in an impactful, purposeful way. which leads me to today's topic, on the other side of anger. What I believe to be true is, first of all, that I know shit, that we all know shit, that we're all creating these ideals and these theories as we go, as we connect with new people and gain insights from them and awareness from them, as we disconnect from people and gain insights and awareness from that, as we have conflict with people in our lives, as we bump up against edges in life, we start to create this library of what is true for us, what life has shown us is true for us. And that's something that really had to fall apart for me in the last part of the year last year, was all of these walls that I had built up in my life to protect me, to make me feel better about things and people that didn't work out in my life. All of these defense mechanisms, humor, laughter, the desire to be seen and validated. And in a way, it, there's there is a caveat here, because as a Leo, as who I am, as a leader, as the core of my essence, and that's stripped away from the astrology, from all of it, even as a human, we're all here to be seen. We, in a sense, crave and desire to be seen, validated, an applause and a pat on the back to know that you're doing well in life, right? So I think that that's important, but something that I started to differentiate from at the end of the year was this piece of, who am I wanting to see this? Who am I wanting to validate me? Um, and really turning that around to, am I proud of myself and what I'm creating and putting out there? Or is there still this thread in me, this very human thread? And can I have compassion for this part of me that is desiring to be on a stage, still to be heard and seen and valued as somebody that she's not fully, as somebody that she's hoping, if people see this side of her, if people hear these words, that they will value her more, appreciate. She will be more seen as more successful, as more this, as more, like, people will have a different understanding of me, essentially. So, what I found through this deep uncovering and these really like minute layers and feelings, they weren't big, loud, banging things. It just came to a head where I got exhausted with these little things I was telling myself. As I was diving into these deep layers of healing this year, and last time I was in San Diego in November, going to a retreat that really was a catalyst for a big layer of healing in my life, a big layer of being able to share my heart with people as I felt I was crumbling, as I felt vulnerable as all hell, to share in community instead of doing all this work one-on-one or at home by myself. I don't know where we're going with this now. But through that journey, it really shone light on all of these very minute places in my life, these little tiny cracks in the foundation. And I'm talking like little tiny ant cracks started to pop up. And I just thought, this is it. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I want to know the core of who Krystal is, who Krystal's here to be. And life has really been just like turning me inward to this place where there's no more escaping and running away from how I be and how I show up. And what I mean by that is, who is the raw, real version of us? When everything's stripped away, when we realize that if we keep moving in the direction that we're moving, if we keep consuming the content and the people and the things that we're consuming in our life, down to the foods, down to the clothes we're buying, all of it, if we keep moving in the direction that we are, and what I realized was, if I keep moving in the direction that I was, consuming in the direction and way that I was moving farther and farther away from my truth. I was moving farther and farther away from my happiness. So this is all like very new to me. I literally just in the last 2 days have been going through a deep integration of allowing everything, all the conversations that I had over the holidays, all the conversations that I've been having the last year, just allowing space for all of it to kind of come through and decide what I'm finding to be true. Where am I at in life? Where am I going? And how did I shift out of this? Because I think the biggest thing when we go through a big shakeup in our life is a couple things. How do we find forgiveness for ourselves and others? How do we remain in our heart so that we don't project blame and find it easier to shit on others than to own ourselves and have compassion for ourselves and maybe the choices that we wouldn't make if we were to redo situations? How do we find that deep forgiveness? How do we keep our hearts open, reopen them, and stop ruminating? So, something that I was unaware of through this process I went through this last year was how much anger I knew that I had anger in my younger years and in the past. It's something that I've dealt with and have always just like shoved down and kept quiet and then gone on rants to other people after being in a situation or wrote about it or found an outlet or through running or whatever it is to what I thought was heal and fix this anger. And then this year, I was given the opportunity to really come face to face with this deep, fiery, red hot hatred, ugly anger. And it's been a really like full year of trying to uncover it and dissect it and be with it and figure out its roots. And while its roots and origins are deeply rooted, I believe, in ancestral stuff and, you know, familial stuff that roots back generations, that doesn't matter. And I think that's an important piece to know, even with the spiritual community, right? Is it doesn't matter if you believe in all of these things, in this stuff being passed down through our DNA, if you believe in past lives and doing past life regressions to find out the root of what's happening. To me, that makes it null because I'm here living this human experience and being asked to heal this now. And I'm being asked to not be an asshole and blame it on past generations or whatever, and then use that to cover up my actions of how I'm hurting others. And this year really exposed places that I can be inflicting or projecting my own shit, my own unaccountability, my own frustrations, my own hurt, my own anger with men, and not having met and found a man that is of, I guess, a caliber that I thought I desired. More on that later. And when it's all put on our lap to own, all of our actions and our words are coming out, and the unconscious is becoming conscious, the subconscious is wreaking havoc on us, and our nervous system is going into a what the fuck moment. It's really humbling to be with all of it from an aware state on the other side of being, asleep. Because now you can no longer hide from it. Now it's right in your face. So, this is not what I thought I was going to talk about at all today, but here is the depths of my 2023. Just going through it and holding through heartbreak, through feeling like I was unraveling, through feeling like these crazy roller coasters of emotions and uncertainty through the whole year, really holding myself and knowing that it's my job to hold myself, knowing that nobody owes me anything, that life doesn't owe me anything and hasn't shit on me. I'm not the victim. And having to hold that while having compassion for myself was a huge lesson, challenge. And I wouldn't say that I passed it with flying colors, but I did it. I went through it. I learned a lot and I sat with a lot of anger. I sat with a lot of anger. And I would say this is the year that none of my tools worked, that the toolbox was so full and she was so confident in the toolbox and she was able to tell others how to do the things, but her own toolbox wasn't fucking touching the surface of life, of what she was moving through. She is me. So what did I do? So I don't understand why this has to be the title of the podcast, because I don't know if I actually have the answers for you. Time, really, what I thought should be a reasonable amount of time to move through everything I moved through this year, didn't help. I had a friend the other day say, I was like, I've been crying pretty much every day this year, except some really like great moments in Spain and here and there. I have never cried so much in my life as the last year. And sometimes I'm not even like horribly sad or nothing bad is going on. But what I learned this year is time doesn't necessarily heal all things. And a friend had said, maybe it's just like a pressure valve. Like when you cry, then it releases the pressure. But here's my theory is when we're going through this and an emotion, whether it's anger, whether it's tears and sadness, grief, if we are moving through these waves and nothing's resolving, leave a flag there and note, because it is my belief, and I haven't fully uncovered this, so this may change, but it is my belief that yes, there may be a pressure valve where we have outbursts of anger, where we cry, where we go into needing to be alone, where we go into needing to be in community, and all of these aspects to let that pressure off, right? I've never understood that more than I have this year. I never had compassion for like people needing to go and avoid life for a minute, to go like take some edibles or have some drinks. And it was always like quite cut and dry. Like, no, I'm here, I'm healing, I'm doing it sober, I'm doing it da da da. And this year I realized like, fuck that. We all need outlets. So, but if those outlets don't give you that relief that you need to then go back and be with, and you're not getting to a point where you feel like you're resolving and you're really like feeling heart back open and ready to go out and live and digest life again, I believe that means that there is this seed in us that is stuck. It's not being watered and nurtured, so it can't grow and become something that we can see and pull out if we need to, or allow it to grow more and foster. But it's also not being removed. It's almost just this irritant in between, right? So if we don't find a way to discover that through the body, or we don't have tools or the mentors that can see that for us, and we aren't asking them to see that for us and help us to expose it, then we can sit there. I believe I spent from like February until November in what felt like this deep grief. And while I had all these breakthroughs and lots of stuff come up and lots of moments of joy and the whole spectrum of life, it wasn't bad. I'm not seeking sympathy. I'm not, I'm just stating that was this year. I remember feeling this way in my Airbnb in Del Mar in California in January, February, and then being back in Oregon on the coast after my friend had passed in October, crying for like 2.5 weeks, just bawling, wailing in my Airbnb, thinking like, will this ever pass? Will this ever get better? And what I was missing, I believe, is I was trying to do it all alone. I had the mentor. I have the mentor and she's amazing. And I have amazing friends and, sharing pieces of my journey with each of them one-on-one as it felt right. But I wasn't allowing myself to share or be seen in community. And I didn't know that that was important because I'd spent my whole life not trusting people around me because I didn't trust myself and the people I was putting myself in rooms with. So through experience, I started to not trust myself in the people that I was sharing and divulging information in my life with. So what I didn't realize was that over the past years, I have cultivated the most rich, amazing connections and people in my life and have this beautiful discernment to know when somebody is genuine, is meant to be there, is a safe place to land. So November rolls around, I go to this retreat, and I go from honestly feeling like the deepest wailing grief I've ever felt in my life for the longest period I've ever felt to overnight, like a light switch coming on and having it all lifted. So this is such a beautiful reminder for me of hope that things can shift when we're in the deep, drudging chapters of life. it can shift so quick. But what helps it shift and what makes it shift? It's unconditional love. It's that belief that you have in whether it's God, the universe, like source. What is that source of your soul that you are connected to? That deep, 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 richest love that can pierce through anything. For me, the first time I really felt and experienced that was in hypnotherapy, and that's probably why I fell in love with it. Was it was a space where I could bypass the mind, get into the subconscious, and actually connect to life force, to what I learned in school, what the energy was like coursing through our body, through our meridians, the things that I'd felt in the treatment room that I didn't understand. The very tangible piece of chi energy to me. But I know that others, and I have since felt this way through a belief in God, through a belief in source, whatever that Christ-like consciousness love is for you. I truly believe that that is the only feeling that can make you feel that wholeness. And while I believe that we do create that within ourselves, and we have to learn to cultivate that within ourselves, or else wherever we go, we're still going to feel this loneliness that I've been like fucking toting around in my backpack for years. So, all of that to say that in this like shift of half a day, all of the superficial mind chatter, the things that I was so hurt about, the things I couldn't forgive, that I couldn't get over, I didn't know how this, will I ever this, da 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 da. There is a powerful force outside of us that can pierce through all of that and clear it away and bring you back to the source of your heart through love, through the heart. But it has to come through the heart. We have to allow our heart to open. So while I thought I was walking around life, I mean, I knew I wasn't in the space that I was when I was doing hypno and like in this deeply feminine phase of my life where I was so open and porous, which had its own complications. And there's a clear reason that I, shifted away from that after that pendulum swing from the doing, being in my full on masculine, creating a clientele and a business out of school, then swinging over to this phase where I found hypnotherapy and this beautiful community at the time that helped me crack open and be in the feminine and really be in the soft spoken space. And then when life hit me this year, I kind of swung back and started to do a pendulum swing between both sides on a lesser drastic scale. But I've lost my thread. The thread is we can't do it on our own. So we can get to phases on our own. We can definitely move through things, and there are things that we have to do on our own. But the question is, are we still open to having that support? Do we still trust life is here to provide for us? Do we still trust our people that they're here to support us and not to judge us? And, do we have that safe place where we can land? Would be my question. And through that was in November. I came home and my heart felt so open. And it really cracked open through coming back to, the plants and the roots of my own foundation through herbal medicine. The biggest shift was doing some cacao ceremonies and breath work attached to them. But the cacao was so palpable for me in my body that it was so heart activating and opening. So having this new tool and coming back to Canada, I thought that I was really ready to integrate this into my whole life, to find this wholeness and this feeling of love and all the goodness without having to be at the ocean. I gotta wrap this up because something in me is shifting today and I'm exhausted suddenly just through speaking. So, all of these defenses started to wither away through the end of the year, and I could feel it happening, but I didn't give any space between landing from San Diego to literally 2 days ago, having my space back and being in Coronado and fully unraveling. It was go, go, go and serving other people, or, there was beautiful things. Christmas was beautiful. I had some beautiful breakthroughs with my family and felt, even though stuff came up, I was more aware of it. I could own my shit and see where I was, doing things that I had in the past blamed my family for making me feel. And here I was doing it to the people that I love the most. And though all of that was beautiful, there are these micro layers. When we're done playing the elementary game, we have to dive into the micro layers where we're saying yes to things that are almost aligned, that are sort of aligned, that make us feel good because we know they make others happy, that we think we're doing a favor for here and there. But at the end of the day, it's actually a disservice to everybody involved. So those are the things that then bring us back and bubble up anger, that then bring us back into these places of frustration and resentment, and we question who we are. Because if we're around the wrong people, or we've spent too much time around people, depending on your design, I need oodles of space to myself. It's not personal. Doesn't mean I don't like the person, I don't like their company. But we have to give ourselves what we need first, or we're doing a disservice to everybody included. So when we are saying yes to things that we are meant to say no for, to, when we are not claiming the amount of time that we are available for, or what we are available for doing in that time and how it honors us, we end up doing a disservice to everybody involved. Even if they don't know in the moment and they think that this is how it should be, or they got their way, or that's what they wanted to do, by playing a dance where one person has dishonored themselves, everybody in the dance is going to feel off kilter, is not going to feel full satisfaction, is not going to, they're going to sense that something is off. They're going to take it personal. It's going to end up in this place where all of these little micro missed decisions add up to a dissatisfying, not fully correct experience for anybody. And I'm going to use like the dumbest example, but my friend was down and we went to a movie, and I was like craving popcorn so badly, and none of the movies were really speaking to either of us. They weren't like full yeses, but we wanted popcorn. So we found a theater that had a decent movie. We're like, yeah, I could watch that. Not great seats. They only had the front row left. Yeah, well, like that's fine. It shouldn't be too bad. And we got there, and the popcorn was so shitty. The service was so shitty. Like it was just a disappointment. And I still enjoyed the movie, but we had to crank our head up. She got sick, and it's just an example that's like that was a movie, but it led to like we had all of these little experiences like that while she was here that were just not fully clicking. And it seemed so little in the moment, like, oh, I thought this would be better. I thought this would be what, but it's fine. Like, we still ate, we still whatever. We wanted sushi, and we thought she had mentioned, like, oh, should we do that tonight? And I was impatient, wanted to go then. And there was only one sushi place by where we were, and it was not very good. And I don't know, but I assume that if we would have, like, ate something else for lunch and then sat down and found the sushi place, we would have had a great experience. And but life happens. We're in a hurry. We're this, we're that. We're like, especially when you come together and now you're playing this game of true authenticity and truly asking for what you need in life with another person. It becomes this whole other dance, because sometimes one person's responding and one person's not getting a hit. And it's a very interesting dynamic that I found with traveling. But so it's a movie. So it's half-assed sushi. So it's these things. But this is your fucking life. This is your movie. And that's what Hyla would say. This is your movie. So are you having a half-assed movie? Are you okay with half of your movie being half-assed, almost correct, almost satisfying, almost turning you on? Or when do we decide that it's not just like the foundations? Okay, we got the foundations. We're not really fucking up life anymore. But now, when do we decide that we're not okay with mediocre, a 2 week period here where I didn't really want to go do this, but I can do it because it'll make so and so happy and so happy, and this person thinks they need it, and this and this and this. Well, 2 weeks of your life is a lot of living. There's a lot of life out there to be lived. There's a lot of, you know, things that have to line up when we're asking for what we want. I just like the other day I met this great human. I went to the pier to go study. And as I was looking for my friend, there was this man standing at the pier, and he came up and asked me if my dog was a Weimaraner, and then we had this conversation and ended up going for an hour long walk. And it was beautiful. It was just like this perk that I needed and that I had asked for that day. I was like, I need some reassurance that I'm on the right path. But I think about like that person had to miss their flight that morning. They had to leave their wallet at their friend's house, get to the airport, realize they left their wallet there, then miss their flight, rebook their flight, then Google this place for the best tacos that then led them to this place. And then they had extra time and walked to the pier. And then I had to be coming by at that moment for our worlds to collide. And it was beautiful. And it was what I needed in that moment to have that passing moment with this human and have this conversation and connection. But when we're asking life to give us these things, remember what has to happen behind the scenes. All I did was wake up that morning and Mallory asked me what I wanted to do that day. And I said, all I can picture is that today I need to go down to the pier and bring my books and just like study. That's all I can see. And if I didn't honor that, or if I would have, if you don't have people in your life who are going to honor that and then either join you in that or find their own thing that's making them feel alive that day, you're going to be you're going to be swayed out of those things that life is trying to provide for you. So how do we make sure that we're getting, all the squeeze out of the juice, all the juice out of the squeeze? How do we make sure we're getting it all? Everything that life is trying to provide for us, every little piece of magic that it's trying to make happen, we have to listen. Life is providing. All the things that have to line up for us to meet the right connections, to be at the right place at the right time, they're out there. But we have to surrender ourselves to the waves of aliveness and life and trust ourselves so deeply. And that's what's led me here to this part of my life. And I'm so grateful to be on the other side of anger. I'm probably not even going to call it that anymore. That's why I don't usually say the name of the episode at the start, because I need the freedom to flow and figure out what it's about. But on the other side of anger, there is this life that I've been waiting to live. And it's still filled with many moments and sometimes days of like grief and loneliness and like begging and pleading with God to like give me my fucking person to walk life with, to co-create with, to like go out and experience all the big belly laughs and all the fun things and all the things that I'm just like craving doing with someone. I've dove into all the chapters of sovereignty. I've done so much of it, and I know there will always be more to do, and I know that other things will come up. But it's led me here to this point of experimenting. I don't know the answer. But I know that the answer isn't in going and finding 8 relationship coaches. And, I watch all these people online and it's like they have the answer because they did these steps and now they know how to help you find the thing you're seeking, right? Well, that's fucking impossible. I can go back to that pier tomorrow and pray for another 6'5" man and turn around and show up at the same time. And what are, like, maybe, but probably not. Don't try to recreate a piece of your life that you've already done that's expired. Don't try to recreate a piece of somebody else's life or a piece of somebody else's business or a piece of somebody else's creativity and think because they made success from it or they got the result they were seeking that now you're going to magically create or become. Oh my God, that just touched on like a really big pet peeve of mine is you can go try, sure, create the business model I created, create whatever I've created or whatever somebody out there has done that seems like an easy way to make money, an easy way to build something, an easy way to get freedom, blah, 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 create the money map, do the thing, manifest the soulmate, do whatever. And you might get it. You might. I can't say you won't. You might get it, but it's not going to fulfill you long term. If you haven't put the passion in, if there's not a passion and a burning desire behind what you're doing, good fucking luck, Chuck. Good luck holding it, keeping it. And if you do hold and keep it, because I'm watching people out there hold and keep some like interesting, successful things and people. And sometimes it makes me frustrated to think like, oh man, am I missing cracking the code on something? But here's the thing. We're all individuals. We're all here to live totally individualized lives, create individual creations of our soul, businesses, whatever, extensions of us are not meant to look the same. And they may look the same at face value, but the fuel and the pulse behind them that's attached to the person and the soul is going to be entirely different. And that is your frequency. That's why you need to go take your unique thing out into the world. And that's where I'm going to wrap this up because this morning, this is what inspired this podcast episode. was I went to this yoga class, and I went to this class last year, and I don't think I had the awareness to realize why I love this yoga studio so much. They had an intro offer. I signed up, and every class I would come home and just be like lit up, like palpably want to talk about it, share about it. Had the best yoga classes I've ever had. They were just so unique. And I always felt like every time I went to a class, I couldn't predict. Like sometimes you go to classes and you know what's coming. It's sun salutation A, and then we're doing the right side, then the left side, then this, then that. And you're kind of already finding your groove, which can be nice, but you're like predicting and getting into the motions, right? And this class was never like that. I could never predict what was coming no matter what teacher. And I just really didn't know why my heart was so on fire for this yoga studio. And then I went back to Canada for the summer, kind of forgot about it, came back and was missing that piece. So I went to a class and it was the same thing yesterday, like just unique. And I thought, I felt the energy behind the owner of like, how did she cultivate this? She clearly knew like something was fueling her. And she's either given these people so much freedom or cultivated instructors that have such a unique creative flair in them, or she has fostered that into them, but it's so palpable. And this year coming in, it was this beautiful gift to see like this is what you bring to your business and your space. Now you can go in and feel this in instructors and people. But today's class was called Yoga Art, and I signed up because I read this woman's description of her class and it lit me on fire. I was like, this instructor she's trained with Ida Rolf. She's done somatic breath work. She's done a lot of somatic training with body work. She's been a yoga teacher for 15 years. She's trained with like, she kind of reminded me, not of me, but she's just like multifaceted and rolled all of these beautiful tools into one practice. And I thought like, holy shit, this woman's passionate about what she does. I want to go to this class. It sounded hard, but I just was enthralled just by her description, just because she threw creativity and feeling into her description and her bio. So I go to this class, have no idea what to expect, and I am just like blown away. My whole day was shifted and my whole perspective. It was like that retreat in November. It was like feeling all of this kind of turmoil coming up to the surface to be processed, to be sat with, to be exposed and healed since I've been in San Diego after Christmas. And then I went to this class today and I left that class and it has shifted. And once again, I was like, it's the same thing, coming into the right community, the right people, and the right space. I've been craving trying to sign up for, I wasn't sure if it was Qigong classes, singing lessons, yoga class. Do I want to run? Like all of these things. And I come to this class and this lady has rolled all of it into this beautiful creation that is her own yoga art. What is it? Well, we start by hugging everybody and getting to know and introducing each other in the class, going around the class, interacting, and then we all hold hands, and then we do some swaying, and then we go through different sounds of chanting, and then we go to a deeply intense physical practice where she incorporates and moves in like qigong with martial arts, with yoga, with chanting, with screaming and somatic releases. And I don't even know how to describe it properly, but it was the most beautiful art that I've ever seen somebody create through yoga, through a medium like that. And it's like I'd been sitting there. It's like what she created was what my soul had been calling in. And if she hadn't put that out there and taken a step to create something that nobody had created before, to put together her soul in form of this class, I don't get to receive that medicine. I don't get to receive that heart cracking open moment where I feel in community with the right people, where I'm reminded that I'm home, that this is my home, but I haven't allowed my soul to come back to my body. So I share this because we all have that thing. We all do. And that doesn't mean that yours has to be some big boisterous thing that you need to get on the roof and shout to the world. It can be something in your daily life, like, but we all have that thing. So where you're not showing up, where you're not putting that out to the world, where you're not allowing yourself to fuck up the boxes of what your teachers have taught you, of every course that you've gone and taken, where you're not willing to take the lines and let them mold together with multiple lines, you're doing a disservice. You're here for a purpose. Whether that purpose is within your family, within your friends group, within your job, whether you're here to serve tons of people or one person, I do not care. But today really reminded me that when we don't show up for our creations, when we don't give our body and our human space to unravel, to actually unravel and figure out what it is that it wants to create, that it wants to express, that it wants to move through us, we're doing a disservice. When we think it has to be done the way this teacher taught us with these different protocols and this step-by-step process, we're doing a disservice. Sometimes we have to learn the rules before we can let them go. But I want to encourage you, where in your life are you not letting yourself fuck it up? Where are you too afraid to fuck it up? Where are you too afraid to allow others see you fuck it up? Because it has to be imperfect. Because it doesn't get to come through you in this pristine, perfect white picket fence. That's the only thing I can think of because I'm in Coronado right now and there's a lot of white picket fences and I can't decide if I want a white picket fence life or like rubber boots in the middle of nowhere cottage fucking it up life or somewhere in between. But you got to let yourself go out there, digest life, and turn all of the living into your creations. And I just want to share that, like, these theories, I don't know if they're theories, but the ideas that are pouring through me in this chapter of my life are really coming from one of two places, or both places. Two people have changed my life in the world of creativity. One is my mentor, Hyla. You've probably seen me post about her lots if you have me on Instagram. And I need to give her credit because she unlocked my creativity. She's the person that turned Canva into something exciting for me instead of something that I hated because I had to use it to promote and market my business, which also then eventually led me to just realizing that my business is a creative extension of myself. It's not a business. It's not a job. It's an extension of my soul. It came here because it needed to be created because my soul was craving a place to put all of this. And Soluna was born, and now it's become what it's become, and it's still an extension of my soul. And now I get to have all these other avenues to pop in and create. So where in your life are you being pulled to create? And don't let create or art or any of these things become a box. There's no confounds. It's whatever is supposed to come. I wrote for years before I ever was able to speak words. And the words are still they don't come out how they are spoken in my head. They don't have the potency and precision, but if I don't start somewhere, I never get there. I never get to access that potency and precision, and other people don't get to digest and then access that for themselves. So, on the other side of anger is a lot of joy, but is still a lot of grief and sadness and healing that needs to take place. There's a lot of shit. But the more that we step into our creativity and we start to access people who are accessing their creativity and bringing these beautiful forms of art into their lives, into their business for us to digest, the more we propel forward and open up and access more moments of that love and that unconditional love and that light that breaks through the anger, the frustration, the forgiveness that we've been trying to give people for years. Those are the moments when we're lost in those creations, when we're lost in bringing those things to life. Even like this podcast for me is one avenue of my expression of creativity. It helps me heal. It helps me heal the shit that is sitting there that I am like ruminating on, trying to figure out an avenue to release, to let go, to not obsess, to forgive, to move on from. But we don't access that if the people around us aren't accessing it for themselves. And if the people in our worlds that we look up to or we are inspired by aren't accessing that and aren't giving their life space to breathe. If they aren't going out in life and digesting life, like where are you living? What's your environment? What are you consuming on the daily that's going to give you the energy and life force to then go create? Because I know what doesn't do it for me, and I know what does. I know where I leave energized and where I leave drained. I know who I leave energized, who I leave drained. And sometimes that's also on us. If we leave something or somewhere feeling drained, sometimes we've overstayed. So I could talk forever on this topic because it's so near and dear to my heart in this chapter of my life as I've really been accessing creativity, not just to put stuff out to the world and have it be consumed or get feedback from it, being past that, being not needing the feedback, the validation from it anymore, just wanting it to be stripped to the core, clear, be of whatever service it's supposed to be of, but most importantly, be this creation of my soul that gets to be put somewhere so that I get to put that restless piece of myself that's been yelling at me to rest, it gets to be there, be seen, understood, and it gives me more insight on me, on all aspects of me, on the different years of my life where I've been stuck, where, you know, it brings me back to compassion. Creativity has brought so much compassion for me, for my little child, for all the years of my life. Because every time I create something, it's vulnerable. Every time I share something, it's vulnerable. Every time I share something, I gain insights on something. And every time I create or share something, it's wildly imperfect. And I have to make a choice to not go and redo it or edit it or, spend so endless time obsessing and trying to perfect it like my old self used to years ago, which is probably hard to believe at this point in my journey because I'm kind of on the other pendulum swing to that. But every time I allow that creation to be imperfectly seen and put out to the world, it puts this part of me at rest. It helps me find this peace and this home because a piece of my soul can start to unravel even deeper. So there it is. Not what I expected to come out. I would love to go back and edit or delete or whatever, or, make it more potent, shorten it up, this and that. But that's life. Let your creations just be what they're meant to be. And if they're only ever for you, and this is a second person, here's my tangents. The other person that deeply inspires me and has been a part of my creative journey in this part of my life is Adam Roa. You should follow him if you don't, but you probably already do. Um, just a authentic, yes, beautiful writer, poet, but like the way he shows up and shares his heart through the spectrum of life is beautiful. And he has a community that I joined where literally the goal is just that each of us creates a piece of art a month. But being in that community and allowing myself to have my voice expressed, to share in community, and also to start applauding and celebrating others in community has been really healing for me. So this creative process and like uncovering the definition of creation and creative and artist and all these things I never related to before really come from one of those two places or people that I'm eternally grateful to have stumbled upon. But I'm going to cut it there. So there's my little, like, I don't know what this episode is meant for, but it is there for the pieces and parts of the right people that need to digest it. But it's mostly there for me to get this out there because I know when I go to bed tonight, after creating this, after putting these words out there, that I receive downloads, that I receive clarity, that I get to gain insights and awareness that I don't get to have if I don't create this. And then when I share it, I get to receive more insights, more understandings, and also the catch is that you get to understand and have more awareness on things that you would have done differently or you could have spoken to in a better way, given a better example, this or that. But let it be imperfect. Let it go out there imperfect because the next time it'll be different, it'll be better. But we still would have always wished that we did it differently or we changed this or that, or I was going to say this, or I was going to share this story. There's so much that I've been sitting with and learning since I've been in California and so many things that I want to share, the magic and the fucking muddy waters. But you don't always get to decide how your creations come out. So I'll leave it at that. On the other side of anger is a lot of beautiful things, and you get to take the anger and channel it through there sometimes too, because it is a part of us. I know it's a part of me. I don't know that it'll ever be gone, but we get to make decisions so that it doesn't sit in the passenger seat or the driver's seat sometimes, even by really being intentional and making our decisions wisely, because sometimes that anger comes out only because we're saying yes or overstaying our yes because we think we should. So here's to a really peaceful, happy, certain, loving, all the beautiful things 2024 has to bring us, but also the reality that it will be the full spectrum of life. So buckle up and get curious. Get curious and start creating what your soul is tugging at you to. Pull a thread and see where it leads you. And can you be okay if it leads you to where you believe is nothing, but you create something along the way, even if it's just for you, even if it doesn't look or feel or sound or whatever like you think it's supposed to be. Start letting your soul have these platforms. Start giving your soul a place to dump these messages that it has for you, this insight, this awareness that it has for you, but also for the people in the world that need it. Remember that, right? It's like a yoga class like today changes my whole fucking life, brings up things and allows me to have the freedom to dance and do things in a way that I didn't think I could because I thought I was doing it through avenues. I need to take dance lessons. I needed this, and those places and those environments never allow me to fully unravel. But a space like that allows me to discover more of me than I'll ever give myself permission in the wrong rooms. So there you have it. Episode 3. I'm sending you all so much love from this beautiful little island of Coronado with Reese, and may you find the space and love for yourself to unravel a little bit more and take that unraveling and create something beautiful for your soul. Thanks for joining us today. That is it. Be courageous, be bold, let anyone down but yourself along the way as you confidently activate or trigger the correct players in your pinball game. And with an open and defined heart, I encourage you to go forward with curiosity and create the depth and satisfaction in the entirety of your life, the entirety of your career, the entirety of the relationships that your soul came here craving, seeking, destined to create. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it if you left a review below. You can reach me at thekrystaleffect.com or on Instagram, the.krystal.effect. We'll leave that below.